All right, hey everybody, Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing. Very excited about bringing you this video. I've been thinking about this video for a while, a few years actually, and how I would go about bringing you what I'm about to bring you, which means a lot to me, okay? So what you see here in front of me are antique ice fishing traps with an antique clam basket. So this clam basket filled with these antique traps were given to me by my father, who he was given these traps by his father and possibly my great-grandfather. Okay, so I've had these for a long time. They've been in this, again, this is an antique clam basket. Now I've already taken all the traps that were in here out. And I gotta tell you, I mean, it's amazing really, the craftsmanship that went into these. Now, what makes them special is my dad had one of these tagged, okay, with a little slip from his tackle store. He wrote it's a sale tag, he wrote on the back of it before he gave these to me, and I'm gonna need to put my readers on for this, even though I know what it says. These traps, like the title in this video says, are over 100 years old. According to the date on this tag, they are 115 years old or older, okay? Which is amazing to me. So my father writes, made by George Burgess, who was my grandfather, 1910 or earlier. So that's amazing. That is truly amazing. 1910. Okay, so here we are, 2025. All right, that's 115 years ago. And they look it. They definitely look it. So what I've done is I've taken them out of the basket. And again, this basket, like I said, it's an antique in itself. A little worse for wear, but that kind of gives it its character. So this is a clam basket. They would have put, you know, going clamming, which I did with my dad many times, but we never used this. And they would have put, you know, their clams in here or the gear. You know, who knows, but homemade, as you can tell, pretty cool. It's got a few broken slats, which I'm debating on repairing. It's got a broken slat on this side, 2 broken slats on the bottom, a couple broken slats on this side right here. So I'm debating on whether or not I should fix those or just leave them as is, okay? So I wanted to show you this, which is, like I said, pretty awesome in its own right. So in this antique clam basket were, and it might not have been a clam basket, it could have been just for these traps, okay? So let's see if I can put these more in your view. So I'll go through them. So right off the bat, right up at the top, you know, I found this trap that had the note from my dad as to who made them and how old they were. But there was, the first thing right up on top was this homemade ice scooper, okay? And it looks like an old broom handle, and it's got a wire loop, heavy wire loop with like 1/4-inch mesh wire with reinforced cross of wire in it, which I don't know if that needed, but maybe they thought it did at the time, because it's pretty substantial. So a lot better than the plastic stuff they make now, that's for sure. So in this basket were, let's see, basically 1, 2, 3, 4 styles of ice fishing traps, okay? So down at the bottom were traditional traps that we know, closer to the traditional traps that we know of today, okay? Galvanized spool, you know, you can see they were using a button. It's old cordage braided line. But it's got the thin metal piece, for the flag, which the flags are all red cotton. They were there, and like I said, these are closer to what we use for traps today. A brass tube, with the wire that swivels inside, and you have the piece on the spool, a little notch sticking out that hits the wire and pulls the wire off the end of it and causes the flag to go up. Okay, so these are old, but they're not that old. Okay, so I'll show you the other three styles, which are really, really unique. Okay, and it took me a while to kind of figure out what I think they figure out. I had to figure out how they worked. Okay, so the first one I'll show you. Now again, this is not one of the ones that was tagged. So you have this basically, thin slat. This appears to have grain like oak to me. And you have a couple pieces here on the end, just flat metal on the end, and back here about mid-trap, okay? And these are just tacked in there, okay? And this looks like it was just cut out it's rough, like a handsaw, okay? So I pulled this thing up, and the end of the cord is tied to the trap. So I'm looking at this thing going, okay, all right, I can see, that's obviously, you got a bite, right? Flag up. And again, it's got the felt flag. This isn't really felt, this is more like just cotton. Almost looks like somebody made out of somebody's shirt. Who knows? This could have been my grandfather's shirt for all I know. So it sits in there nice like that, flush. And they wrapped the line. The line was wrapped in the width of the trap, okay, not around the short end. Okay, so it has this little metal lever, and it's got a notch on it. You can see that notch right there. Little piece of lead on the top of it. Again, it doesn't appear to be factory. It's pretty, each one of them is slightly different. Got a little notch which holds it right there. Okay, so you can see that when this gets taken to the side, the weight carries this down to the bottom. It's making the mast vertical, and you got flag up, right? Okay, so I'm looking at this going, well, how's this work? So obviously this is the hole. If you have a hole through the ice, this is sitting on the ice like this, all right? So this really has to be, this can't be off to the side. This would have to be pretty much right over the hole, okay? So now you got the hole here. So this is off to the side. So what's holding this in place? They put a ice bucket on here. Did they put a block of, maybe the block of ice they chiseled out they're putting right here? I don't know. So okay, so this is like that. And how do you rig this up, right? So I'm thinking, now the cordage on this, there's no way I'm going to be able to use this. It's extremely dry rotted, and it's been on here for an extremely long time. Mice have gotten to it. So I'm thinking, it's going to be one of these deals where you're going to have to set the depth of the trap and either have like a loop knot or at least go around it like this, okay? And that's going to sit there like that. Going to have to put weight on this end because this is going to have to be over the hole. And I could see this trap having a lot of issues with the wind, a lot of issues possibly with the bait pulling it. So maybe they put a loop knot in it, although there's no evidence of that. I don't know. We're gonna see. So yeah, we're gonna figure this out. So that's how it works. Okay. So my plan here is to actually use these traps. I'm not going to use them all. There's about a dozen of this style. And again, this is the style that this one is tagged that these are made in 1910. Okay. And like I said, there's no way I can use the line that's on them. So I'm going to try to actually ice fish with these and catch a fish with them. Okay. I don't know when the last time they were used. Safe to say a long time ago. So I'm going to figure a lot out when I get to the ice and have the hole made and try to get these set up. Okay, so that was the first style. The next style is even more unique, where it's just a flat, this feels a lot lighter, like a piece of cedar. And it's got the thin metal spring steel, if you will, in the staples. And again, there's 3 of them. There's 5 staples, and the spring steel, flat spring steel, is only going through 3 out of the 5 on all the traps. Okay, so there's the flag. All right, so here's the mechanism. All of them have this style of wire hanging down from the bottom. All right. Hopefully you can see that. All right, so I'm thinking, all right, so it's got the wire, the spring steel, flat spring steel is what I'm calling it. It's bent around the end through either a D-ring or a round ring, not a split ring, just looks like a brass ring. And it's doing a couple things. It's holding, this is definitely felt, it's holding the red felt flag on it, as well as going through the ring, crimping it on there. Okay, so bend this down, put it on that little part of the wire that's sticking up like that. Again, all 3 of them are bent the exact same way. Okay, so again, you have your, and I'm assuming the line's going to be right there, right? The line's going to be on the end of that. There's a loop there. Okay, so how's this work? You know, I mean, if this is on the hole, if this is the hole, this can't be down in the hole. It's just not, it's not going to go off. I mean, it'll hit the side of the hole. I mean, it's not going to work. So I'm thinking, all right, thought about it for a second. Maybe they chisel the hole, okay, 6-inch hole, let's say. Then next to the hole with a chisel, because chances are they use just like hatchet or a hand chisel. No gas-powered augers, I'm guessing, in 1910. They chiseled a smaller hole next to the hole for the fish. This went down beside the hole, however deep they wanted it. Line's attached right here. Down it goes. And you get a bite, right? And it pulls the wire down. Flag up. All right? Flag up. That's what I'm thinking. That this is maybe even at an angle, a little bit of an angle. Not a perfect science, right? You get a bite. There you go. Flag up. Looking at this, you know, it's got each end is notched out, but that's for the line, to wind the line around vertically. There's no evidence of these being like frozen in the ice next to the hole, because you would want to chisel these out, or have to chisel them out at the end of the day. They'd freeze in. So maybe it was more of a loose situation that they didn't freeze in solid, and they could just pull them out and wind the line up. I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're definitely gonna find out on how these work. So I could probably do some research. Antique ice traps. I have not done any research yet to see if these existed. You know, like all of, I mean, the community, the hunting and fishing community, you know, I mean, you're all out there together. Ice fishing is a very social thing. I'm sure the guys were, you know, guys being guys were like, hey, look what I made. Check this out. I see what Pete made over there, and I made a little change to it. What do you think? Is this better or what? You know how guys are, right? So there's 3 of these. Again, all identical to each other, the same style, bend wire. No rhyme or reason. It's got 5 staples, but it's only going through 3 out of the 5 on all 3 of them. So interesting, right? So the third trap, which is pretty cool. This right here is pretty awesome. Okay, they all have this spool to hold the line, and every one of them looks the same, but I can tell they're all unique. They were all made individually. Okay, and they're a fragile thing. They got a nail going through the main shaft of the trap to hold them in place. So this, I got some line out here. These had, and some of these other ones had a hook on them. It's a long shank Aberdeen hook. The previous, the traps that were marked 110, tied directly to this hook. Okay, you see it's offset, long shank, has a welded eye. Or maybe not. Check it out. That might have a gap in it. Hard to tell. Yeah, there's a gap in it. Not welded. A little bit of a point on it, a little rusty. But probably for pike or pickerel, this long shank would protect against the teeth. But so this actually had a very fragile, very brittle monofilament, clear monofilament leader to it. And you can see whoever tied these knots wasn't worried about the tag end being too long, okay? They're, you know, 2 to 3 inches long. And this one looks like it's snelled, okay? So tied onto the cord. So this trap, you get these 2 metal legs, heavy wire that pivot up out of the way. They obviously go down, sit on the ice. This end sits on the ice. All right. Now this piece right here, the flag, heavy wire, kind of crudely bent. You know, they got a notch in the main shaft of the trap. This is a screw holding the T-bar to it. So you see this piece of lead with a hole through it. Again, they're all the same, but every one of these is unique. You can tell they were all made individually. So it's going to sit on the ice like that, okay? And you have this hook in the wire. I'm thinking they put a loop knot, although I have not found one in any of these traps. But I'm going to make, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tie a loop knot and put it right here, and I'll set, you know, the depth where I think it needs to be. I'm going to use Modern. I'm going to sound the hole. I'll keep the shiner or the chub 2.5, 3 feet up off the bottom or wherever I want it, you know, where the fish can see it. So I'm thinking, okay, so you get a bite, right? And there's the bite. It pulls down on it. Here comes the flag. The weight goes to the bottom. Line pulls away. And then you can see the spool You know, if you've got a runner, he's going, okay? So this served, obviously, to store the line, and as a way, you've got a bite, obviously, there's a flag, but that thing's spinning, you know you got a fish on it, okay? So pretty cool. I want to rig up a few of these. And like I said, this cordage is very old, very brittle. I'm gonna leave most of them the way they are right now. And I'll probably rig up one or two of this style, of each style, okay? And at least these three right here are the antiques, especially 1910, the ones labeled 1910. I'm gonna put modern braid. I'm gonna put maybe, you know, 20, 30 pound green or black braid to fluorocarbon leader and a modern hook on the end. Just so I don't, when I get a bite and I set the hook, I don't break it off. Okay, so the whole idea of this video is to show you these antique traps, which are pretty amazing as they are. And I'm proud to have them. But I also think it would be cool to fish with them, to catch a fish with them, okay, on a trap that's over 100 years old. And at least 115 years old or older. If they're my great-grandfathers, they're older than that, obviously. So that's what I got. So this, I've been thinking about doing this video for a while. We got a decent weekend. It's supposed to be 40 degrees tomorrow. I know there's a lot of guys on the local ponds right now fishing and enjoying it. This is probably one of the best ice seasons that we've had. I can't even remember how long. We just haven't had a winter in so long. Not complaining, you know, but guys that really like to get out on the ice, I mean, the Cape was even frozen. It's thawing out now, but Cape Cod had safe ice. The guys were down there ice fishing. So that's what I got. I may put this into one long video, just so you know, or I may do two parts. Okay, this being part one, and part two, I'll show you. You know, I'll rig them up to fish, and I'll go through, like, I have more modern ice fishing equipment. But take it, you know, that, I'll show you that, and go to the lake, hopefully tomorrow, and yeah, and fish with them, and then hopefully catch a fish with antique ice traps that were at least my grandfather's, if not my great-grandfather's. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it. If this turns into a part two, stay tuned for part two when we go to the ice. All right, thanks for watching.